Alright, so we're going to build a stepped foundation, or a stepped footing. I've got my plan view open. I've also got my 3D view open, and I'm going to tile these views. So I am going to create a footing that steps between here and here. If I look at them from the front, you'll see that there's an elevation change that I've got to negotiate. I can see that this footing is at 1 foot 4 inches, negative 1 foot 4 inches for its offset, and this footing that I've got to meet up to is at negative 3 foot 4 inches. And I can look on my CAD file from the structural engineer, and I see I've got 2 steps that I've got to take to get from there to there. So each step will be 1 foot to negotiate the 2 foot difference. So we'll go ahead and start modeling. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just throw the footings in there. The way I'm going to do that is select a footing similar to the ones that I'm going to create and choose Create Similar. And I don't really care exactly where they're placed. I need to uncheck Tag on Placement. Alright, so I just put them in there dirty. Get rid of those tags that I don't need. First thing I'm going to do is set my elevations. I know that this one needs to be at negative 3 foot 4 because that's what the footing on the left is. So I'm just going to change that over here in the Properties palette. Okay, you can see it moved it down to the proper elevation. The middle one is going to be at negative 2 foot 4. There's a couple of places I can change it. I can change it here. Also in the 3D view, you see there's blue numbers at each end of the footing. That's your start and end offsets. And I'm going to change this one to negative 1 foot 4. Okay. So now I'm going to align my footings. They all need to be aligned to this red line from my CAD drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go to my Align tool, and because there's 3 elements that are going to align to the same reference point, I've got multiple alignment selected. So now I just have to select my reference point one time, and I can align all 3 elements without having to reselect a reference point. Next thing I'm going to do is trim and extend the ends of my footings to the place that I want them. So I select the reference edge for my trim and extend command, and then I select the element that I want to trim and extend. So the first one I did was I put the end of that footing to the column footing that it touches. The other end of that footing needs to stop at this point. So I select that as my reference, and you'll notice I selected the wrong end. I select this as my reference, and you always select the end that you want to keep. So now you see it trimmed it nicely. I'm going to do the same thing for my second footing. Remember, I select the end that I want to keep. And now I'm going to go ahead and trim the bottom footing to end at the column footing. Now let's get the offsets correct. You can see they're offsetting, they're overlapping too much. So I want them to each overlap 1 foot because that's the thickness of my footing. So what I'm going to do is just use my dimension tool from my quick access toolbar. I'm going to dimension between that face and that face. You can see right now it's got 3 foot 8 inches. To change that, I select the object that I want to change. I know that I want to change the bottom object because the the middle footing already is at the right place. So I select that object, come down to the blue number on the dimension, and I'm just going to change it to 1. And it corrects my overlap, but you'll notice it pushed the rest of the footing into the column footing. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up with my Trim Extend Single Element tool. Now I just do the same thing for the next footing. I'm going to dimension it from that face to that face. Now I select the footing, change the dimension to 1, and it pushes the other end. I'll just clean that up again in the plan. Select the end you want to keep, and there. We have a stepped footing with each step overlapping the next step by 1 foot. I don't need that dimension anymore, so I'm going to delete them. And that's how we create a stepped footing.